Hello, my friends. Hello, community. I am so excited. This is going to be a good one. So, as you know, the focus for this season has been all about women, entrepreneurship, and even if it's not literally you owning a business, it's like the spirit of entrepreneurship, purpose, clarity, empowerment, and listening and connecting with women that I know or have come to know over the years that have built their business that are successful in their own terms, which is such a big theme in my life. Like, I think success for a long time was one thing, one flavor, and now success is it's multiple flavors, shapes, and sizes. So I am honored, excited, and I feel giddy to bring today's feature guest, my dear friend Jenna Schebell. She is also the founder of the College Navigators, and she's what you call these like rare experts that have seen both sides of what she's doing. What I mean by that is her business is all about supporting students and parents with the college application and admissions process. She has reviewed over thousands of applications. She has over 20 years of experience, but she's been on both sides. She has worked on admissions offices and I guess, yeah, offices and that part of it in colleges. She has also worked in high school counseling programs and that part of it. Now she has her own business where she's blending the best of both worlds. And really her vision and her mission is helping parents and students make the process of college applications easy and fun and have ease into the process when it can be a really competitive process and making sure that kids land in a place that they are thriving. She's really here to help students stand out and find the schools that best fit for them, their goals, and what they want to create in life. So without further explanations and sharing and all the good things, welcome, my friend Jenna.
Thank you. That was quite the welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I love doing welcomes because I've been on the other side of podcasting. And when you're listening to somebody being like, these are all the things, and you're like, yeah, I have done that. And that feels so good. Like it's such an awesome opportunity to just receive all the love and praise.
Yeah, no, I was like, wow, I guess it really has been all of that stuff. Like,
And we have known each other. I don't know if University of Tampa was actually your first job, but you and I go way back to like almost 20 years.
mhm.
And I'm sure we will have stories even before we started recording. We were already talking about all of our college party days. Oh my goodness. But for those of you that don't know you, what is the story of how you found your way into college admissions?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny because, yeah, if our 20-year-old selves could see us now,
I
right?
know.
Look at who we've become. We made it
Look
out
who we
okay.
know. We love all parts of us.
Yeah, so no, you were right. So my first like big girl job was the University of Tampa, and it was just kind of by chance. Because it's funny, if you were to ask me about my own college admissions journey, it was very like, I mean, my mom was dragging me by my hands to get me to the colleges. It was a different day and age. The internet wasn't booming, where everybody was posting everything and it was so braggadocious. And it just was a different time. And so I really would have been totally fine going to a community college and
Hmm.
oh, you need to at least look at some of these schools. And so she like dragged me basically. Actually, she went to the open house at UT without me because I like wouldn't even
No.
yes, it was crazy. I was like, if you want me to go, then you go, because I don't want to go, right? I was just so content in life. And so I really only looked at UT. And I have to say for all the listeners, like UT to us means Tampa, but like these days
Yes.
Texas. And now Tampa has like rebranded itself to be U Tampa, which I just can't like
Oh, you
totally.
Tampa. Thank you for that clarification because you
Yeah.
obviously know about schools and mascots and what they're called more than I
Yeah.
do. But I was like, I think there are two UTs. And right, we're talking about U Tampa, I guess.
Yeah, because there's University of Tennessee, there's University of, Texas. But yeah, so in our eyes, the UT is UTampa. And um, yeah, so like my own admissions process was just crazy. So even if we remember Jim Rogers, right? Who
Yeah.
ended up being the dean of admissions at Marymount, who recruited me to go up there. But I remember looking at the notes that he wrote about me when I visited the campus finally on a tour, and he was like, "Yeah, she's not coming, not interested." Like it was just so I really had no affiliation with the admissions office the entire 4 years that I went there, but I did get really involved with residence life, working in
Mm.
residence halls, and then through that got jobs over the summer, each summer for Center for Talented Youth, which is through Johns Hopkins. So I would go work on college campuses over the summer and really love that. And though I had graduated with a computer degree, really wanted to stick somewhere in the higher ed realm. And ended up just so happened a job posted at UT and I interviewed for it and got it. So it was just by chance. I was not one of those that kind of worked or volunteered.
Knew what, yeah, like you're like, this is what I want to do. It was just like, oh, this would happen and it was good and it was fun and
Good. And they were like, oh, you can go to grad school for free. So I was like, sign me up. So I did that. I got my MBA in marketing. And then it was like soon after that that Jim Rogers, who was the dean of Marymount, who had been the dean at University of Tampa, was like, would you want to come to New York? And I was like, well, yeah, Sex in the City, like, sure, like, let's
because
do
that was
it.
Sex and the City was like the height of
It was
Sex and
so
the City.
hype. So
Like,
I was like, Carrie Bradshaw,
absolutely
let's
yes.
go.
Absolutely yes. What is my next move? As you're saying this, like I remember like I was in college, so I was like a freshman in college, and it probably was like your first or second year working. And it was so cool because I used to like, first of all, like the UT main building, it's so beautiful. And I remember I would always walk into your office and we would just be like talking and hanging out and we would party together, whatever. But I always think to myself, like, oh my gosh, her job is so cool. And I feel like you were so just like professional, but then you would party with us on the weekend. And I'm like, I love that. Like I want to, and I feel like now that I'm thinking about it out loud, like you were a big inspiration of like you can be professional, but then like you can also have a ton of fun because you were so button up and you were like, wow, like she's so just into what she does, but on the weekends it was like wild. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, and I feel like you always honor that part of you, you know, like you're really into the work and you're so good at what you've always done. And then it's like, let's have fun and let's go to like little dive bars and like have a good time.
Yeah, work hard, play hard.
Work hard and play hard. So you have built multiple businesses over the years, and I have also seen you struggle like all of us, right? Where times in your lives you've been like, I'm in between jobs or things have happened that have been really difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I always want to call out those stories, you know, because where you are right now, it's like, I think you're at the peak of your career. You've built something so beautiful and so powerful and so massive, but there are so many years of like hardships and struggles. And I love for you to share with you whatever you feel comfortable, but if a little bit of like notes or like a little synopsis on like, what was that path to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so hard because people sometimes only see the successes and they're just like either a, oh, that was so easy, I can do it, right? Or like just they don't really realize all the hard work that has kind of gone into it or what has led to it. Like you said, the peaks, the valleys, it's not a linear path. Sometimes they
Hmm.
you just you don't even know why you're doing them. They don't make sense. But yeah, so I would say probably one of the biggest turning points was right around the time that you actually left your corporate job. Like I remember the two of us being in Brother Jimmy's on the Upper East Side talking about little dive bars, celebrating that I was leaving Marymount. I had been commuting 2 hours, oh, each way each day, which, if you're listening from far away, you probably think I'm nuts. If you live in the, New York region, you're like, that's normal. But I had been just commuting like several hours a day every day and just couldn't do it anymore. And so I was celebrating my goodbye. And you had just quit L'Oreal. You
Yes.
were just like, I'm doing this. And I was like, wow, I was already questioning my decision leaving. And I was like, wow, she is probably the bravest person I know at this point because to leave such a good
Yeah.
standing job with great benefits, vacation time, all of those things that you just really take for granted, until you're on your own and you realize you have to create all of those benefits
Mm.
and things for yourself. So you were a big part of my inspiration.
Oh.
Fast forward many years later, but because I watched you go through it and saw your ups and downs too. But
Hmm.
I had gone and worked. That's when I switched over to the high school side, which my first experience I didn't like totally love because I wasn't as connected to the kids as I had always
Mm.
on the college side. So that was tough. It was much more of a office environment because I was in admissions on the high school side. So it was just really dealing
Right.
with parents, which I was so used to kind of the youthful
Yeah.
excitement. So that was tough. And then that position eventually got eliminated. So that was like my first like cut. And it was just kind of like, I had been there for 3 years, but I was still one of the newer in terms of employees. And so it was just one of those things where I think they laid off maybe 15 or 20 people at the same time. And it was obviously nothing personal, right? I always say, like,
Yeah.
it's a business, but it still hurts. And even though it wasn't my favorite job, I was still kind of like, oh, like, what?
Where's my paycheck and what am I gonna do and what does this mean? Yeah.
It was such a good time to start reflecting on like what I really wanted. And I had been working on kind of two businesses on the side at the time. One was more of creative outlet, right, on Etsy, which was always great because that has always sustained anytime I've wanted to try something new. And then the other was I had, when I was leaving Marymount, had started a business called College Fair Registry. And to give people like a timing of it, it was back in like 2010-ish, maybe 12, somewhere around there, when paper was still very popular. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
high schools were communicating with colleges to invite them to college fairs. And I remember being on the receiving end, being like, this is like crazy. I would have stacks like this big of
Mm-hmm.
college invitations, and I'm sorting through things. And I was like, I wish there was just this centralized database that colleges and high school counselors could come together. And so I was like, you know what? I have my computer background. I know how to build databases and websites. Let me put this together. And I
So
did.
cool.
Grew really big, really fast because it was kind of the first thing out there where it was like this centralized platform. And I think I had like over 250 colleges join. I mean, I had like 10,000 high schools on it. High schools got to join for free. Colleges,
Shenna, this is amazing.
it was great.
Like,
It was great. And then you want to talk your peaks and valleys. I
yes.
had a school counselor reach out to me and was just asking lots of questions. And it was one of those things that I was like, these are really intense questions, but at the same time, like, she's a school counselor. I'm sure she's just trying to figure out how it can best work for her and things like that. Lo and behold, I didn't realize she was building her own version. And so she capitalizing on kind of what I had done in my layout and trying to figure out how she could do it. And then she did. She launched it a couple months later, and then very quickly, within maybe 6 months or so, sold it to this very big company, which has now been
Mm.
acquired by somebody else. I'm not going to name like all kinds of names, but yeah. And so then obviously once she got acquired by this huge company, like mine was kind of like, because it intertwined with other, products that they were able to sell and combine. So then I kind of just wiped my hands of it. But it was like my first real experience of how cruel the business world can be.
Oh my gosh, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did you ever connect with her after, or she just launched it? She never reached out. You lost touch. Like, how did that work?
I remember it being launched and I was like, what? Like, you always have in the back of your mind, like, especially when you're creating a product that like is technology based, that like technology can be easily recreated, right? People,
Yeah.
so I always had that fear, like if I didn't move fast enough, that somebody else could take my idea and just make it their own, or my hope was I would just get bought up like she did, right?
Right.
That would happen. But I remember when it launched, I was like, who did this? Right. Like I was inside and who made this? And, who's their founder? And when I saw it, just instant light bulbs went off. And I was like, because I remember questioning myself after I had had that conversation, like, that was just a lot of questions. And then when I saw it, I was like, what?
That you know that there so when I do a lot of proposals to corporate organizations
Yeah.
about like group programs and consumer events and wellness events and everything that I do, I basically give them all of these ideas,
Yeah.
right? On how they can create like a stronger emotional attachment between the product and the brand, right?
Mhm.
Or if I'm working, that's like my whole corporate thing. Like if you're selling your little Stanley Cups, how do you
Right.
create an emotional attachment to them through consumer events or coaching? But I give them a ton of ideas. And I ended up talking to a lawyer once because I'm like, what if I just pitch all of this stuff to them and then they're like, oh, we'll give it to the marketing team and like,
Yeah.
and basically, right? Like, and he was like, listen, yes, it could happen. And he's like, when you are, in your next iteration, when you're pitching to like huge corporations like Disney or Apple or things like that, you could then have some sort of like confidentiality agreement attached to it.
Yeah.
Right now, you're putting things out there and things somebody can take it or not. And even with that information, I'm like, yep, I'm still putting things out there. And I
Yeah.
feel like you're probably the same, of like, I think
Yeah.
that's the true entrepreneurship spirit. Like, it's not about being selfish and being like,
Right.
somebody's going to take it. It's like, I have an idea, I have an itch, I have the creativity.
Right.
I'm going to launch it to the world, and then karma will work
Right.
itself when it needs to.
Exactly. And it's like looking back, like I'm happy with the way everything worked out because I wouldn't be where I am now and I probably wouldn't have this business that I have now, which this is way more fulfilling. I get to interact more with people, right? That was just building technology. So like I'm very happy how it worked out,
With
but it's just
It was a
like
big deal. So that happened. She buys it. So that was kind of going while the high school job got cut off, right? And then what happens after that?
so then I was fortunate that Rob was just kind of like, you know what? There's not many times in your life that you get laid off. Like it just, you know what I mean? It doesn't happen often. He's like, there's no rush to just jump into something that you don't want to do. Like take your time to figure out what it is. And they had given me a severance and stuff. So I had that like cushion of like, let me try to figure it out. And I was doing a lot of things with like my Etsy, which got to be very creative with, got to do lots of shows, got to build that up, which was great because I'm a big believer that if you can have multiple sources of income, it just makes life a little bit easier that you don't have to rely so heavily on a fallout. And having lost a job, it always gave me that confidence of like, all right, if somebody else wants to get rid of me, I still have this nice cushion. And in the meantime, while I have two things, right, this could be fun spending money or, fun vacation money. Um, so I just kind of built that. And then I just got very fortunate that someone else that had also lost their position at that same school that I had been working at got hired at another local Catholic school in our area and was like, hey, there's like a guidance counselor position. Like, would you want to do it? And full transparency was like, I kind of feel like that's like below my pay grade.
Yeah,
Like I've been like director and now I'm gonna be like a guidance counselor. Like
counselor.
that just seems and nothing against guidance counselors, but it's like
No,
when the director level, it's like, am I gonna take that huge pay cut just to like I
have
said
something
to
right.
have something, right? So I went in very hesitant of like, all right, let me just go see if nothing else good interview practice. I went for the interview and by the end of it, they were like, would you want to be like the director of the guidance office? Like, we're phasing out the director that's been here for 40 years. He wants to retire. He just wants to stay on as the guidance counselor for this year. He just wants to basically
No.
promote himself. We need somebody. You have all this college stuff. We're lacking in college. Do you want to come in and basically build up our program? And I was like, wait, what just happened in this interview? Like, I just went from like not necessarily wanting to be a guidance counselor to like now being a director of the entire like college counseling program. I was like, all right, sign me up. I'm good. So that taught me like you never say no to anything
I
because
was
just
just
no,
You
like
just don't know. And I think it's that of like, let me just have a conversation. Let me just see what this is about. And I think in the process of like manifesting, which is a big part of like my world and things that we talk about sort of behind the scenes, it's like, no, I'm too good for that, or no, that's not. It's like you're just having a conversation. You never know where that's going to lead you. And I love that you share that example because for everybody listening, go take that informational interview, go
yeah,
to that low paying job interview, or maybe a client wants to hire you and they pay you a little bit less, but they know somebody that can be another huge connection. Follow your heart.
yeah. And just like you said, just do stuff because you never know like what connections are going to be made out of something. So yeah,
So
so
you
that was
took that.
so I took that and I was very happy there I worked there for 7 years. And really the biggest part of just why I left was because really post-pandemic, a lot of like the initiatives in the office shifted more mental health versus college counseling. And I really thrive in college counseling. Like I didn't go to school for mental health or any of
Mm-hmm.
and then just like lifestyle changes where we're going back and forth to Florida and doing things. So it just made sense to, do what I really love. And like I said, I had watched you do and make big pivots. And I was like, okay, she can do it. I can do it. Like, and I remember you were the first person I told. I was so excited to be like, oh my
I
gosh, like
remember
your
that.
victory, like rubbed off. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. And even then, the first year, there was times I was crying, like, I don't know if I made the right decision.
Yeah.
I loved the people I worked with. Um, it's slow building your business. It doesn't happen overnight. And so there was times when I was just like, oh gosh, like, should I start interviewing? Should I just like,
The
get
first year is tough. The first year is tough.
it so
Yeah. And you question like all parts of yourself,
yeah.
like you question your ability to execute, you question your ability to make decisions.
Mhm.
And it's really like the way I used to talk about it all the time, it's like when you work somewhere, you have your manager to blame or the organization or like this isn't working and I'm not happy because of a million things.
Yeah.
And then you're on your own and it's like you are naked and
Yeah.
it all goes back to you and it's like this huge resilience or like emotional growth to be able to say like, okay, if this is not working, it goes back to me. What can I do different? What can I shift? How can I support myself? But that first, even like 1, 2, 3 years, and even now that I've been in business for 8 years, I'm currently going through like almost like year one stuff where I'm like, okay, what like my clients are great, the results are great, but I'm beginning to want to like rebuild the infrastructure. Like what are my offers? What are my prices? What do I want to focus on?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've experienced that with multiple businesses. Like the cycle of entrepreneurship truly is a cycle every however many years.
Yeah. And I think you brought up such a great point. Like one of the hardest, still to this day, but definitely when I was starting out, was putting a dollar sign on the my value. Like meaning like and I still struggle with, am I charging enough? Am I not charging, am I charging too much? Like where's my value? I know where
Mm,
my experience lies. And it's very hard when you're in an industry that people aren't very transparent with what other people are charging. So you don't even know what to charge yourself a lot of times. And so that has
yes.
been a big struggle too of just like I mean there's people in this industry that are just disgusting. Like they charge people
Ugh.
like 50, 60, 70, like just ridiculous that like just I mean I don't know how they sleep at night. But then there's also people like that like you can't support yourself on what you're charging either. So it's like where do you make that balance of like how do you value yourself? Like that's such a
Well,
hard.
and I think you just said it though. Although marketing yourself is it can be the hardest thing, especially at the beginning, especially like if you're marketing other companies and you're like, they're great, but me, I kind of know myself. I know
Right,
my blind spots. But you just said it. It's like, what feels good to you and what results are you bringing to people? Like I
right.
always do the litmus test of like, let's say I'm going to charge $100 an hour.
Mhm.
That doesn't feel too good, right?
Right,
Because if I were to work 8 hours a day, $800, and does that pay my bills? Probably not. But if I
right,
charge $5,000 an hour, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how that feels either. So you begin to do like a little bit of like that energy of like
right,
that feels too much, this feels good. I pay my bills with that? Because ultimately also a business is a business. Like we're
right.
not trying to have a hobby and then a full-time job. I mean, some
Right,
people do that, love that for them. I'm not
right,
trying to do that. I'm trying to fully just
right,
thrive of my business. But that
right,
becomes that, yeah, that balance. And I think just like FYI to everybody that's in this journey or wants to start, every few years, you're going to go through a whole period of like, okay, well, who am I again? What do I offer? What are my services? It's
right.
like a rebirth and rediscover
Yeah,
of who you are.
yeah. It
So you start, okay, so then the college
yeah,
Navigators is born,
yeah.
right? After
Mhm.
all the high school, the college, moving to New York, like having all of that experience,
Yeah.
having seen all sides of the admissions table, right? Like the actual process application, what college wants, you being the one at some point reviewing the applications. What do you wish both parents and students, because I know that's your target, you work with a lot of students, but parents are involved, that would
Mhm.
save them money, time, stress? Like what becomes this foundational, maybe mindset that supports them in this process?
Think one of the biggest things, and probably why I've been so intentional with creating my Instagram account, is to bring transparency to the admissions process. Because as I was starting my business and I would just kind of start following whether it was colleges or, content creators, college consultants, there's just so much kind of misinformation out there. And I think a lot of that just then creates a lot of unnecessary stress for people. And then also too, I think a lot of parents and students don't realize that at the end of the day, college admissions, it's a business. It really is. Like I think back, like I got my MBA in marketing and it was perfect because enrollment is a business. Like it is not education, right? It's everything is driven by
Yeah.
number enrollment and that's how faculty salaries get paid. That's, it's a whole operation and that for the student, it's a very emotional process they're going through. This is the
Mm-hmm.
first time, you know, that they're applying, for many of them, the first time they faced rejections. But it's not a reflection of their worth. It's not a reflection of their value.
Mm-hmm.
um that, again, like I said, college is a business, and 98% of the time the decisions they're making really have nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? If they need more students to live in their residence halls this year, then they're admitting more out of state students. If they have no capacity,
Wow.
they're admitting more local students. You know, if they just started a brand new nursing major, guess what? That's attractive in their application pool. Whereas if they're getting rid of a certain program, then you're not going to stand out. And what makes you so right for one school can make you totally wrong for another. But yet you're the same
Mm-hmm.
applicant, you've got the same GPA, the same SAT. And so I think if parents and students can go into the process really understanding that you only control so much of the process, that the rest of it is really, you know, deemed by the college and not even the admissions office, the overall board of trustees, the overall,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's such a bigger picture, and I think once they grasp that, they'll understand that you're gonna end up where you're meant to be, you know? And it's so many people get so focused on, like, "It's my dream college," and I'm like, "Tell me, like, 5 reasons it's your dream outside of, you know, their great sports team, their fun Greek life, you
Your
know, their
parents
local
went there.
parents went there. Like, give me 5 solid reasons how it supports your future goals and what you wanna do." And they usually can't do that. It's almost like having a crush on somebody and like, "That's my dream," right? But you know nothing about them.
Stop
You
it.
don't know who they are, like, right? You don't really know if you'd be compatible, but it just looks good, right? So you know, I think that's the other thing too, is this should be such a process of self-discovery of, like, what is it that you want in life? What place can support that? You know, maybe you should be the big fish in a small pond, you know, or maybe you thrive on the success of others and should go to a really competitive environment, but finding kind of what's best for you to move you. I mean, you know, like, if you love where you are and you love what you're doing, you're going to be successful. Like, that's just
Mm-hmm.
a given. I mean, you have
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, intrinsic motivation that is going to then lead to you being successful, making more money because you enjoy it. If you're miserable,
Because
yeah,
right. If you're in alignment with it, it's going to work. There are so many directions I can take it. There's so many things here because when I was in that college application, I did have the privilege that my parents back then hired this. She was the you know, 20 years ago. And we would go to this little office and she had like a
yeah,
million papers and a million things. And she's like, what do you want to do? And I remember just being like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know what you're asking me. I am not sure. And there are the people I always talk about, like the doctors or the lawyers or the
yeah,
teachers, that they have the vocation and they're like, there were
yes,
three and you wanted to be a lawyer and a doctor. You and I were not one of those, right? We're like, I am not sure. I don't know what I want to do. So for me, it was also like, double major international business and marketing because I'm like, well, there's something that's going to support me in there. But my parents were very much like, we had just maybe within like 5 years, we had just moved to the States, this whole college thing, like in Venezuela or in Switzerland, you have like the 3, 4 colleges, you know, and like
yeah,
you either go to, you know, business or science or arts. But
right,
here you have like hundreds of
yeah,
schools. So they had hired this woman. So I remember that really vividly. And I don't know how. I think UT was just like one of the options that was part of. I was also not good about like, I didn't get horrible LSATs, but they were not like amazing. So it was just
yeah,
like my whole test taking thing was not great.
yeah,
And UT just came and I remember just loved the campus. Like it's such a beautiful school that I'm like, I'm not too far from my parents because I used to live in Miami. And it's Tampa and like it was kind of what felt good. It was
right,
definitely not driven by any of the other things we talked about.
yeah,
But so that's number one. Number two, the mindset of it all, Jenna. Like I
yeah,
think of what you were saying about ultimately do what feels good because unless you're in the doctor,
right,
teacher, lawyer circle, you don't know what you want at 17, you know? So putting yourself through that like dreadful period where there's so much pressure, it's like, how do we remove the pressure? Enter
yeah,
somebody like you that can
right,
support both the parent and the student to be like, how do we clean this up so we
yeah,
actually enjoy the process?
yeah. No, it's so true because like you said, most people don't know and you don't need to know. I think that's like
And you
such
don't need to know.
you don't need to know. And it's so funny because I think back of like, what I thought at 17 and 18 and just how I've grown and it's all the things that you do are going to lead to what comes next, not because you chose, you know what I mean, this one specific major. Very few people are completely aligned with the major that they went to school for.
And they're
So,
probably right. And that's probably something that's school and then life happens.
yeah,
My daughter, we live in New York City, and even before I had her, you always hear those like nightmare stories about like pre-K and kindergarten and like elementary. It's horrible. It's like, and I remember when I was pregnant, I was like, already you feel the pressure, because people are like, what school is she going to? I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, I don't know. Like, she's in my belly.
right, right, right.
And like, and then when she was born, I was already like, well, where's she gonna go to daycare? And I for a minute, I got caught in that like, you need to start applying now. It's gonna be too late. And at some point I was like, no, I reject it. Like, no, ma'am. This process will be easy. This process will be fun. And I really solidified, and it's just like, I think the coach in me that's like, what kind of experience do you want to have? And I'm part of so many mom groups that when it was leading time to the pre K applications, they're like, oh my God, this is awful. And da da da. And I was like, I am muting all those conversations.
Yeah,
So now she's starting school next week, and it was such an easy admissions process,
right.
right? So I think it's yes, you need to do your due diligence, and we did apply and we did do the things. But as a parent, what kind of experience do I want to have, right? And for the students that are listening, like, what kind of experience do I want to have, and really anchoring yourself in that.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because I'll have people reach out that are parents of like seventh and eighth graders or ninth graders and be like, we want to hire you to work with our student for the next like 4 years. And I won't take them. And part of it has to do with I'm one person, right? I think sometimes people don't realize the college navigators is just me, right? And I want to be very intentional with the students that I do work with. So I work with a very small, maybe 10 to 15 on a big comprehensive. And then I have like my group mentoring that I do. But I won't take ninth or 10th graders. And one is because I don't like that crazy pressure. Like I don't want that pressure from the parent. I don't want the student to feel that kind of pressure. I know that's, a lot of businesses practice that and that's totally cool. But I think the college admission landscape changes so drastically from the time you're a freshman
Mm,
the time that you're applying. I mean, just look in the past 4 years between COVID, there's been like things just in the college world with, FAFSA delays, which change things. There's been things like now with just changes in the administration, like will
mhm,
international students be able to enroll? So and now there's AI entering it, right? Where AI is reshaping how admissions. So it's like there's so much that changes and you control like that much of it that
mhm.
I'm not along for the ride of torturing a kid from ninth grade. Like, I'm just not. Like, I'm happy to meet and shape classes and encourage, like, what maybe things to get involved in. But, like, to the extreme that some people take, like you said, while the baby's still forming in the womb, like slow
Well,
down.
that's
Like,
like people that want to move to New York City. I remember when you were living here, and I stayed in your place a couple times, and you know, anywhere else in the world, you can start looking for apartments like 3 to 6 months.
yeah,
Here, it's like you have 3 weeks. And I'm like,
yeah,
what do you
yeah,
mean 3 weeks? Like, I need to. No, no, no. Like, if you want to move somewhere at the end of October, just start looking in mid-September or maybe beginning of September. And it's similar to what you're saying. Like, if you're going to college, don't
right,
start when you're in eighth grade. Like,
right.
like it'll come the time where all of that is due. You're also, though, a very, like, I think you're so perfect for what you're doing because your energy, your personality, like, again, you're super professional. You have mastered, the admissions process, but your energy is very calm and chill. And I think that's something that either parents are really going to appreciate, that you're like, okay, this is how we're going to work ourselves for the
Right.
best success within what we can control. Or I'm
Yeah,
sure that some parents are like, she's too laid back for this process
right,
and we need somebody a little bit more manic to
right,
walk us through. But you're just like, you know what you know, you're really good at
right.
what you do, but you're just chill. Do you
Yeah.
feel that that has supported you in everything you've gone through life and you support families that are going through this?
Yeah, I hear that so often, like, so many people will say that, like, they'll message me or I'll talk and they'll just be like, "You just have a calm way about saying certain things," and I'm like, because, like, it doesn't like you said, it doesn't need to be super stressful, and the other thing is I think I'm just super honest, but, like, in obviously, like, a very professional way, but I remember a student when I worked at St. John Vianney came in, and I had seen her, like, a year after she graduated. She's like, "Miss Chabelle, like, I will never forget the one thing you said to me," and I was like, "What was that?" She's like, "You told me I would never get into Boston College," and I was like, "Oh, God, great," like and she's like, "But you know what?" She's like, "Everybody else looked at me and lied in my face and told me like, 'Oh yeah, you'll probably get in.' And you were the only one that said, like, chances
Wow.
are like you're not getting in. Don't put all like your eggs in that basket." Like I had said to her, like, we need to look at lots of different options. Like if you get in, it's going to be a great surprise, but like chances are like super competitive, probably not going to happen. And she's like, "You're the only person that was just honest."
Wow. I get
And so
chills.
yeah, so it was like and I tried and I know at, like, that moment when I say things to people, they'll be very like, but, like, I'd rather them hear it then than hype up for, 6 months as they're waiting a decision and going on campus visits and, like, really thinking when again, let's talk about the reality of just, what the crazy admissions world is like, and let's try to set some, like, very realistic expectations. If we get a nice surprise, then it's great, like, let's expect the unexpected, but
Mhm.
not like we also don't want to put our worth on something that just, maybe wasn't
It's
attainable to
too
begin with.
much pressure too. It's too much pressure.
Pressure.
And you've always been like that, even in personal, like as friends. You just say it like it is. And being in the industry and the business that you're in, that's definitely going to support you, you know? When it
Mhm.
comes to the myths, right? Like are there myths about college admissions that you're like I just want them to die? Like I just want people to just realize that this is not true or stop. Like is there anything that comes to mind that you're like if I read this or if I get this question one more time that you want to like put it to rest?
I will say, like, when I'm on social media, because there's a lot of, I would say, a lot of people that have entered this like college counseling space that really they've never worked a day in the field per se.
Mm.
Like, they like maybe they themselves got into Harvard, so therefore, like, they're the expert of like college admissions. When I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, you've got experience with one school. Like, have you worked in an admissions office? Have you seen what goes into decisions? So there's a lot of people that necessarily haven't worked in the field that are in the space. And one thing that I like consistently see that I'm like, oh, here we go again, is like, you need to have a passion project, right? Like that's such a big thing. And they'll be like, starting from ninth grade, you need to have a passion project. And if you don't have one, like you're not getting into school. And it's like that having been the person on the other side reading applications, when it's something that is a forced passion project. Like you're
You just
passionate about
feel it.
you feel it.
Yeah.
It looks forced. It doesn't look genuine. It doesn't there's no depth to it a lot of times. And then when you see versus somebody that's very passionate about something that just does it because they love doing it. So I'm always like, should you have passions? Absolutely. Does it need to be this like contrived passion project? I feel like it's such a selling point for like a lot of college consultants. Will help you with your passion project. And I'm
I
like,
remember that. I remember that. Like, what do you like? I'm like, I don't know, like going to the beach like at 17. Like, and again, some people have awesome passion projects. I was never one of those. Like, I was just like, I want to hang out. I want to go to the beach. I want to have fun things. I love what you're saying that because to bring it back, and then I want to move into social media because that's like such a big thing right now too. But it kind of feels a little bit like AI, where
yeah,
it's like it's great like if you're working it where it complements your business or your
yeah,
life, yes, but if
right,
you're bringing it in to be the quote unquote passion project
right,
sustain you, then it's like I can smell through it. I talk all the time about energy, and it's
yeah.
like people may not even talk like they know energy. You may talk to somebody and they're like they don't have the energy or the intuition, you're not using those words, but they're like this isn't real. There's something here that is off,
Yeah.
and that's basically what you're talking about. Like you can say, I'm a passion project. I've done this for 10 years. Yeah, but it still smells weird. Like there's something here, and you sniff that through the college admissions, right? And that
Oh yeah.
application.
I
Yeah.
mean, when you're reading like 80 to 100 applications a day, like it's easy to pick out the ones that the parents filled out for them or that the parents
Oh,
wrote the essay, right?
yes.
It's easy to pick out like things stand out. Like you know what a typical 17, 18-year-old looks like when you're looking at it back to back to back to back. And then all of a sudden, when you see things that just don't make sense, you're kind of like, "Mm,
Yeah, I'll take it. It's like the 10,000 hours theory. It's like you've done your 10,000 hours of reading college applications. Like at this point, probably more than that, you know what's what, you
right,
know?
right.
So, moving on to you talked about social media and how these people are saying they're college admissions experts and they're not
Yeah.
always. We love them, bless them, good luck.
Right.
But I have watched you grown your brand on social media, which also makes so much sense for your target audience, right? Because the kids are on the social medias of the world.
Yeah.
But I remember when you started the College Navigators, and it's like the same, it's like 100, 500, 2,500. Then one day I looked and I think it was like, I don't know, like 59,000. And I was like, holy shit. I remember like texting you and being like, oh my God, you're amazing. Congratulations. Da, 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 da. And then it's been, and I think now you're like almost at 150,000 or 140,000 over. Tell me about that journey of both. This is what I want to know. I want to know both the holding the energy, as in my words, you may have other words, right? Of like, you are now, I always think about social media as though you have like an auditorium, a conference room, you have 2,000 people. And I'm like, I know what a 2,000 people conference room or auditorium looks like. You have 140,000. That's like, I don't know, city life, MetLife, like maybe, right? Like that's, if you were in front of that many people, whew, right? It's like, okay, I am an expert in this. So I would love to know both the perspective of growing and knowing that people have eyes on you, and the
Mhm.
perspective of using social media as a platform for business, because a lot of people have a huge platform, zero
Yeah.
business, right? They cannot sell a headphone if even if they could. And
Yeah.
other people, so you're really merging the quote unquote content creator of it all with a library, knowledge, and people following you because you have something important to share.
Yeah. It's funny because social media was never part of like my plan in terms of when I was building my business. I mean, I did question like obviously how am I going to find, clients, but I just assumed it would probably be more local and it would just be word of mouth and things like that, and that I would really struggle with that in the beginning. And then I think just because I had to, you have to have social media in this day and age. Like people just don't even think you exist if you don't have social media. So obviously, I built the website, I put together the social media, and then I think it was just watching like people in that industry. The algorithm is great, right? So like once I had my college page, everything that gets fed to me is college stuff. And so then I started seeing everything that was out there and I was just like, there's a lot of like misinformation out here. Like this is crazy. So I think I just went into the social media aspect, not even necessarily thinking about my business per se, but looking at it like I want to be like a voice of reason in this space and be very transparent. A lot of people try to gatekeep, I think, information. And it's
Mm.
like, look, like, I don't care who you are, like, there's so many high school students that are graduating, and there's only but so many college counselors, like, we can each have a piece of the pie, like, we don't need to be, like,
Yeah.
keeping so much information um, that I was like, I just want to bring like authenticity and transparency to the process just because I know what's going on. And so I just started posting stuff and sharing stuff and breaking stuff down. I think what really took off is when I would share like statistics from schools, but then
Mm.
I would kind of like explain what went into it and part of the decision process and what the colleges were looking for. And so then people really started gravitating just towards kind of the knowledge base. And then I was like, "All right, well, I kinda gotta create something to go with it," because when people would, like, be interested in something, I was like, "I really feel like I need to then give them at least some, like, freebies to help them." And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really then what kind of grew the business as I would start sharing stuff with people, and then I was like, "You know what? If they like what I do, then potentially they'll want to work with me and they can experience who I am, whether it's my personality or my posts through the social media. They can grab some of my free content to see. And then if they want to work with me, great. If they don't, keep following along because I can't tell you how many people that are like, you've given us so much information. I share it with anybody out there. And so for me,
It's
just being
amazing.
able to make a difference in this space, obviously any income that comes, my way because of it, I'm grateful for. But I think the bigger picture behind it was really just to help people learn about the process and try to demystify so much of kind of the misconceptions that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that
But
what
like,
speaks to me. Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, but what's crazy is so, and you'll relate to this. I feel like you spend there's no in between. You work so hard trying to build your brand, your company, and get people to know. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, there's this day that you wake up and you are in just total protection mode of this brand that you've built, that you have taken, you know what I mean? That like, I feel
Yeah.
like no in between. And I remember saying that one day to a friend, like, I remember just wanting so hard to be seen. And now that I'm seen, it's like I try so hard to protect. And I think of every single thing every time I post, like, how does this make me look? Are people going to take this the wrong way? You know what I mean? Are you going to offend somebody? Right? Like, I did a post one day and I was walking and there was like breaking news and I happened to be out and I was like, I don't have time to type this. Like, I'm literally going to film myself just reporting on it. And I did. And I put it in my story. Well, it just so happens like I was in Target when I did it. Never said the name Target, never like whatever, didn't tag Target, right? But people could see from, I guess, where I was. And like some people were like, I'm unfollowing you, like blah blah blah. And like I was like, that was like my first inclination of like literally everything you do, people are watching you, and like you could offend
Wow.
people without even like trying to offend. Like I could see if I said something bad about a college and then somebody got offended, but like because of
You're
my
just
back.
living your life in your background.
No, like, if they only knew, like, Target's the closest store to me, like, it was not even intent like, it was just crazy.
Yes.
It's like, all of a sudden, like you said, you're in this audience in front of 140,000 people, and literally everything you do, say so there's also this kind of reality check that goes into and so I always you just yeah, like,
And
like
you
I said,
also don't want it to like, you also don't want it to shy or stop you, from sharing the content. So
right,
I'm sure I'm super private. Like I've even
right,
done so much energy work around feeling more comfortable being seen because as much as I'm like open and I'm sharing,
yeah,
like I'm always like, okay, is this the background of my building or the street or am I gonna
yeah,
like I am not, I'm just like not comfortable. And
right,
that's clearly like a huge contrast to like I want to be known, I want to be seen, I want to grow my
right,
business, I want to grow my followers, but yet
right,
like nobody know where I live. No,
yeah,
nobody asked me like anything because I know. So I think it's a contrast to be able to be like, yes, see me, here's my business, here's my
right,
knowledge, here's my wisdom, and don't ask me any questions, right? Like, how do
yeah,
you like, but to your point earlier, what I wanted to comment was about even when you were growing, and I think it was right when you had reached the 100,000 that I was talking to you and I was like, Jenna, okay, I want to grow my audience. Like, what have you done? And your attitude and your mindset is always so sharing and
mhm,
abundant. You're like, I just want to be a source of information. Like, of course, you're growing a business. Of course, you want to make money. Of course, you want to have clients. And my Instagram, talking about yours, is a source of knowledge and taking down the things that are not true and making things easier to understand. And I feel because that intention has been so clean, in my
yeah,
words and pure,
yeah,
that that's abundance. Like you're not the college admissions that are like, no, there's only but so many. Like you said, it's big enough.
right,
There's hundreds and thousands of universities. There's a bunch of people. We're
right,
good,
yeah,
and I'm not gonna gatekeep. I'm gonna share. If you want to work with me, I would love that. And if I
yeah,
don't, then you're still going to get great information out of my page. And I feel like, again, I'm not nearly to your followers, but when I'm looking at big audiences, the people that are here to do it from that place of like abundance and
yeah,
care and love for what they do versus
yeah,
the people that are trying to sell or tell you something that you're like, let's not do that,
yeah, and it's
you know?
crazy. I will say I think I've answered pretty much everybody that's ever messaged me. Like, I'm very good
Wild.
about I mean, I'm sure I've missed them just because they, like, get stacked or whatever, but, like, I try to respond to everyone, and it's not like, I'm not like, "Oh, do they pay to work with me?" You know what I mean? It's like, no, they have a question, and, like, so many people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you responded," and it's kinda like, "Well, of course, like, I want to help you. Like I can easily give you a quick, what does it take me 2 seconds to write a sentence or like give you a little voice memo? Like I just want to, like
That's
I said,
beautiful.
help people. And
That's
so,
beautiful.
yeah,
Ah,
anyway.
I love that. I love that so much. It's very inspiring. When you talk a little bit about like organizing your business in
Yeah.
between the content creation, obviously you're reviewing, you said you're working with like 10 to 15 private clients. You also have College Navigator, which is like your monthly,
Yeah.
access webinars. How do you set up your week for success? Because it seems that you're also enjoying life
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being with your family and your
Yeah.
dogs and doing
Yeah.
things that are fun. So what is that behind the scenes structure look like?
I would say it's pretty cyclical in terms of like, because it obviously with admissions, you have different seasons where you're, either busier or less. But I would say, I mean, obviously I make social media part of my day pretty much every day. And then depending on the time of year, like I'll be like tonight, I'm meeting with 2 students. I do the monthly, twice a month, I do Navigator, like live sessions. I do a lot of like application reviews. So I feel like every day is a little bit different and I just kind of roll with the punches, which is kind of what I love about it because then I can just I love what I do and I don't mind doing it whenever. So like if it means I'll stay up till like midnight one night just reviewing a bunch of applications so that the next day I can take off and go enjoy myself. Like I love the flexibility that being an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
allows. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking like tomorrow, I think I have like one appointment. I'm done at 12:30. So I was like, hey, like tomorrow, why don't we go like blah, blah, so like it's just nice that you have that flexibility versus like all those things that I could never do when I had like your, 9 to 5 typical, like you only
Yes.
had to live for the weekends. Like I love that I can live for a weekend on a Wednesday. But
That freedom, there's no price.
there's no
I want to hear a little bit more about a story, and then we'll do a little bit of like wrap up questions.
okay.
But if you're able to think about a student, and of course, like no names or no
Yeah.
details, but they were just in a place of like feeling challenged or overwhelmed in the process and they hired you, they worked with you, and what was that process and the end result? Like is there any one, I'm sure you have like dozens and hundreds, but is there any one that stand out that really just paints the picture of what it's like working with you?
Um, gosh, there's so many. I think I'll say like this because it's happened multiple times with students is because the college admissions process is so long because a lot of times students are starting like the end of their junior year where they're really starting to fill things out and make their list. I always try to tell them like who you are now is not going to be the same person that applies in September, that gets their decisions in January, and who ultimately has to make a decision in May. So it's very hard when you're going into the process. Like you really want to have this well balanced, well rounded list. I know right now you want to get 1,000 miles away from your parents. You want to go as far away as possible. You want the big school, but we also need to like have maybe a smaller school or maybe have something close to home because so many times what students think they want
Mm-hmm.
time to make a decision ends up being very different than what they choose. And so I think that's always kind of the fun thing as I go through the cycle with these. Like I had a student last year who was looking at like all these very different types of schools, but I would say almost all of them had, and they literally use this word, that Hogwarts theme to it, like meaning it looked like that very like
Yeah.
traditional buildings, right? And there was one on their list that was like completely opposite. It was Santa Clara, which is like palm trees and like Jesuit school and like what, and it was kind of too close to home. And like they went and visited all these schools. And at the end of the day, like chose the school that was literally the complete opposite of everything they thought they wanted. And like I
Wow.
can't tell you how many students have said, like, and I always say, like, until you walk on the campus as an admitted student, knowing that you could go if you want to, it's a whole different feeling experience. And so I think to watch that come to kind of fruition with the students and just see the growth
Yes.
over the time. So I know it's like not one specific student story, but I would just say it happens so often. And students are always like, no, 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 when I tell them that like May, or like when we're starting the process and at the end, I'm like, oh, so what did we pick? Like it's always
The
most of it,
palm trees, the ocean, the
right,
the
it's just
opposite of
it's different, and then every year I have a couple students who just zone in, they know what they want, they get it, and they're done, and they're, easy peasy, but
Mm-hmm.
that don't know, it's awesome to like see them grow through that kind of like growth process.
And like who they are, because also, and you had mentioned this at the beginning of the call, it's such a self-discovery journey for you as a person. Like this is the first time that maybe for the first time you're actually making decisions of like education. Maybe for high school, your parents pick, and middle school, of course. And now it's
Yeah.
like, where is this next level?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think I keep thinking about Dylan Joy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, when that moment comes.
It was so
Um,
funny. I had a parent like reach out to me. This just happened like a couple days ago. And the parent had like when decisions were coming out last year and their child did not get into like this one specific school was just like so bent over it, like so upset. And I kept saying like it's okay. Like they're gonna end up where they're meant to be. You're gonna see this is a blessing in disguise. I know it
yeah.
doesn't make sense right now. Like just give it a couple months and wait to see where your child ends up. And like I'm telling you, it happens more than you think. Like they're gonna say it worked out, like they're gonna be happy. And so she messaged me the other night and she's like, I just want to let you know my daughter could not be happier where she is. I'm so glad she didn't end up going to this other place and like this couldn't be more perfect for her. And you were right. And I was like, okay. It's like these are little blessings in disguise. I know they don't feel that way when you're going through it because it hurts, but
Yeah.
it works out. And it's just if you can have that perspective going in that like you are going to end up where you're meant to be. And if you get to where you and you don't like it, like it's not end all be all. Transfer, go there for grad school. Like this isn't like the end of the road. So it's just like
Mm.
but it's all about that perspective.
You just answered my second to last question about like what do you want to tell parents? And
Yeah.
you just said it. It's like your kid will end up where they're meant to end up, and that is with all aspects of life. Like we talked about so many things in your journey that
Yeah.
happened unexpectedly. And here you are running this incredible business, helping people. Like you've
Right.
grown this huge brand. You ended up where, and who knows what's going to happen 10 years from now, right? So, number one, it's like trust that your kid will end up where they're going to meant to end up. And the
Yeah.
second thing is like allow yourself to have flexibility of the mind.
Yeah.
Like that's something that is so important. And even with my daughter, like I think I'm teaching her, but like she's teaching me. Yesterday we had like a little off day, the two of us, and we were gonna go to the carousel in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And she was so excited. We're going to the carousel and it's all the things. We get to the carousel and it's closed. And as I'm walking up, I see the doors close and there's a part of me and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad and she's gonna be so upset.
Yeah.
And I walked it up and I said, little girl, it's closed. And she said, oh, it's okay, mommy. And I'm like I almost wanted to be like, but are you sure? Are you okay? Like
Right.
we will have a fun day together. Don't you worry. But in that moment, she's like, it's okay, mommy. We can come back next week. And I just like squeezed her because in that moment, I'm like, I am so proud of how flexible you are. And I know she's not, she's 3.5, but I was like, I just want to let you know, being flexible with your mind and knowing that things change is so, like, I'm talking to her like she's 12, right? So she's teaching me because she was so unbothered. She's like, yeah, I'm a little sad, but like, really, no problem.
Yeah.
And we carry that forever and ever, like that flexibility of the mind that things are going to change. And we had the best day ever yesterday
Right.
without carousel. But that applies to what you're saying, right?
Yeah. And it says a lot too from a parent perspective. Like you could have made it a bigger issue than it was. And I think
Right.
that happens with parents in the college admission process. It's like almost like the parents are so mad that the kid didn't get in, but maybe the
Yeah.
kid's totally fine with it. You know what I mean? Like, so like don't make it a bigger issue to your kid if your kid's not losing sleep over it. Like I get it, maybe you're upset and you don't understand, but like you could have said to your daughter, like, but I can't believe it. She was fine. Like,
She was fine. And I took her cue. I was like, great, it's going to be a great day. We'll come back next week. We'll plan it out. So it's both, right?
yeah,
Like our
yeah,
kids are our teachers. We are their teachers,
yeah,
allowing ourselves to trust
yeah,
in the journey.
yeah.
What is exciting you about this, next chapter of the College Navigators for you and your work, right? Like I know you said it's very cyclical and you
Yeah.
have your monthly membership, you're working
Yeah.
one-on-one, but what year are you in business now? You would be
Um,
going into, I mean, I know it's 20 years, but like within,
oh, like with the college navigators? I think I started September 2023. And I feel like that first, like because of like the admission cycle, I almost feel like that first year really wasn't much because by September people were already working with people. I only took on a handful. So I like to say like it's really only about like 2 good solid years of now going through the process.
Are
Yeah.
full on. So for year three, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Year three, like what is exciting you in this as you're entering this chapter?
I think what's exciting me is that I can feel the world is shifting in college admissions. It reminds me of, okay, when I went to college, I went for computers, right? And when I started, um, it was very like old school coding. Like you had to do all these statements and type things in. And by the time I graduated, there was the .com boom. And so it
Hmm.
just elevated, the world was different, the World Wide Web was taking off. And I think right now we have this AI insurgence, and I can just feel that everything's starting to change. And I think
Hmm.
the way the admission world is going to operate is going to just change very quickly over the next couple of years. Like, are we still gonna have students write essays when like they're using ChatGPT, the colleges are using AI to read them? Like, what are we doing? Right? So I feel like it's a really fun. I know there's a lot of people in the industry that are just like, especially if they're more like old timers that have been around, they're kind of like, I'm ready to make my exit plan. Like it's getting crazy. This, whereas like for me, I'm like, wait, this is really exciting because I think the college world has been the same for a long period of time, and it's just gonna kind of it needs to be shaken up a little bit. And I'm like
Hmm.
excited to be part of that. I don't know which way it's gonna go and like how I'll be able to use my skills, in different ways to help students. But I think we're gonna see some shifts and some changes that I don't know. I'm just excited to be part of because like I said, I think it's gonna change the way just the process works altogether.
The way it's meant to change, and once again, because you're such like from my coach perspective, it's like you're
Yeah.
such an abundant, positive, optimistic, glass half full person that you could be like, I'm gonna be out of a job in the next 3 years, right?
Right.
Because if I, and it's like, no, 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 this is just part for me to, of course, I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, but how do we shake things up? And I love talking to people like you where the mindset is that optimistic, glass half full, things are changing and I can be part of the change, right?
Yeah.
Like I can be leading that change and seeing like how do we incorporate both? Even
Right.
in a conference that I go to every few years, like a coaching conference at Columbia, they were talking about like AI and coaching, right?
Yeah.
And because people are going to ChatGPT to like
Yeah.
be their coach, which
Sure.
is like that, right? That could work. So how do we still as coaches bring that differentiation and support clients in whatever goals they're trying to achieve? But it isn't like chat gpt is taking my job as a coach. Is how do we work together and making
Right.
sure that we support what people are trying to bring into the world
Yeah, because people are always going to want the human connection. So, like you said, it's how do you use that tool to just support what you're doing?
to complement what you're
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Let's do some rapid fire. I always
Okay.
love, I want to change the rapid fire name. I'm not bought into that, but I love these little nosy, it's like nosy questions at the end.
I like that.
Um, I'm that kind of person, and Dwayne, my husband, like he's always like, babe, but I'm like walking across the street and I will look into your window if the curtains are open.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
what are the books? What are you drinking? What's happening there? And he's
Oh,
always like,
always.
right?
Yeah. Oh, I have a dog that stops every house, and then you're like
Yeah.
at every house, and Rob's like, Jenna. I'm like, I know. Like, I don't care. Like you said, they left their window open. It's not my problem.
Listen, if you left the
They
curtain
invited me.
open, I am gonna look. Thank you. You're inviting me. So this is a little bit of like the healthy, peeping tom
Okay.
of looking into your life. So, what
Okay.
is your favorite little bev, your little morning situation beverage in the morning? What are we drinking when we wake up?
Oh, all right. So, well, I do like to have coffee in the morning, but I don't think it's good to have on an empty stomach. So I don't start right away. So I usually do like either just like a water hydration or athletic greens first thing in the morning. But then I have a coffee, which has a little half and
Tell
half.
us.
I use maple syrup as my sweetener.
Ooh, so a little half and half, a little maple syrup. I agree with you. Coffee for sure is not great on an empty stomach. And there's like once a week that I'm like, oh, but I just want to have the coffee. But I'm
No.
always mindful of like, can I eat a banana? Can I just have something? So pre Dylan Joy, I was like black coffee through and through forever and ever.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I need a half and half. I need some kind of dairy in it. It's so
Yeah.
interesting how coffee evolves.
Yeah.
Who is your current like muse, mentor, inspiration? It can be somebody that you don't know, or it can be somebody that you do know, but like who are you inspired by nowadays?
So I'm like super easily influenced, especially like on Instagram and stuff like that. Like I love following other like people that just like you said invite them into your lives. But like I'm obsessed right now with this. I love anybody that can like renovate homes. So I'm
Yes.
obsessed with this girl who you would love her. Actually, how do we get her on your show? Ready? Out into the world. Her name is Gailey Alex, and she worked for Goldman Sachs for like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years, made buco's money, did really great. Went to University of Florida, like whatever. Worked there for years. And I'm just taking this from what she's invited me in on
Yeah.
her Instagram, like left, like I think she was engaged, it got broken off. I don't know who happened, whatever. Revamped her life, right? You have that, like, what am I going to do with my life? Quit
Yes.
corporate, moved to Miami, and started her own, like, business where this is what she does. I love it. She works with people who want to renovate their homes. But the thing is, you have to be willing to let her do whatever you want. So, like, she walks
No.
in, gets to know you, and you'll say, like, I want this space like to be more cozy and be office like, and she'll like kick you out for the weekend, and she works round the clock and like
I love that.
and when I say it's gorgeous, I'm sending you her link after. It is
Please.
so freaking gorgeous. But she's also like her content is just amazing, and she does it all herself, and she's now got
Ugh.
herself the lines in like Home Depot and different things. But I just look at her from like a woman who was like bold enough to step out on her own and just try something that is pretty male dominated world when you talk about
Mm-hmm.
innovations, and the fact that she's got people trusting her to like, I mean, you think about that, like
It
that's
takes a lot of courage to be like, here, I think like I would do something like that. I think Dwayne would never, but
yeah.
I'm like, I see your work. I know we have similar tastes. Like, it's gonna be so fun.
I would trust. I mean, that's how I am with like anybody that does my hair. I'm like, you've got the vision. I don't. Just like
Yeah.
take it. You know what I mean? But like, so right now, I feel like she's like a big person. Obviously, that has nothing to do with the college world, but like just watching women entrepreneurs, like,
Do their damn thing.
yeah, yeah. So Gailey Alex, I'm gonna send you her thing.
Gailey, send me her thing. And maybe, like you
Plus,
said,
yeah, and she's
we
like
have
my
the
inspiration.
podcast,
And
the podcast angels.
her music, I'm big on my music and my social media. Like hers is next level. She's
So it's both like a personal inspiration and you're also like, oh, content creator.
yeah,
Like, let me be mutually inspired.
yes.
Love, 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 love. What book do you have on your nightstand? And if no book, what it's like your little nighttime routine?
Oh, so at this exact moment, I don't have one, but on September 2nd, I will because I'm waiting for my favorite series to drop the next line. So I don't know if you knew, but Harry Potter, the one that what's her name? Why am I not thinking of it?
JK,
J.K. Rowling, she writes a whole mystery series under another name called Robert Galbraith.
I did not know this.
They've actually turned it into HBO miniseries. So it's gonna be, I think, I don't know if it's gonna be like 10 books, but I think this is book 7. And I pre-ordered it like months ago and it
So
dropped.
now you're just like, when
Get
I
me
get
the
my hands on it,
get
give
me the
me.
book. And they're usually
Okay.
like this thick, but when I tell you I love them, they're detective series, but there's romance, but that's like my fave. So right now I purposely haven't started a book because I want to be able to start that the day it
We're
arrives.
in the countdown. It's like T minus 5 days.
Countdown, yes.
We're in the that happened with one book that I read last year, which is not going to come to mind at all. It's also like very heavy fantasy. I read the first one, devoured it, and then it's like the second one is coming in like September, and it was like March, and I'm like, oh my god! And when you finally get it, it's the best feeling. But I'm gonna look into that. I like a little mystery, but light. Like a light little mystery that's not okay. What is a practice or a ritual or something that you do that you swear by, that you're like, this makes me feel so good, whether it's like skincare routine or workout or walking your dogs or
Yeah.
something in your life that you do pretty often that you're like, this is my jam?
I would say, I mean, I've always been pretty big on just like working out. going for runs, going to walk, going to the gym. It's always just been part of my lifestyle. I think I grew up playing athletics. So then just, as I got older, I always have had a gym membership. I always go on runs. Like so many times I go like in my stories and I'm like sweating and beat red. I'm like, like to add something. So I think because I'm home, or like, by myself, working, right? Unless I'm meeting with students that I just need to get out and get my body moving. I think you can get very sedentary. So like as much as I can get outside, especially when it's nice, I mean that just makes me feel better. Um I need to be better about nice things like massages or getting my nails done because every time I go, I'm like, why don't I do more of this? But I don't treat myself as
Block the calendar.
I know I need to,
That
but
should
I
be like
need
a
to,
Q4 thing, like a Q4, just incorporate. I got acupuncture yesterday.
oh, love.
Once, like a little massage, a little acupuncture. And don't get me wrong, still when I book it, I'm like, I'm not gonna have time.
Yes.
Something's gonna come up. And then I'm always like, Steph, just book it, pay them. That's also the key, right? You pay them.
Right.
So it's like, no, no, no. Money has been paid. I am doing
It is.
this.
Yes.
Little self-care.
Yeah.
We got two to more. What's like two more? What's like a bold opinion? And you've talked about a few things on here, but what's something that you really believe about yourself and what you do that may like ruffle some feathers? You're like, this is not popular. This is an unpopular opinion, but I will die on this hill.
Oh, well, I mean, this goes against my whole grain of business, but I don't think you need to go to college. I don't. I'll die on that hill. I know.
Yes.
I don't think college is for everyone. And I will say there are so many times, especially when I worked on the high school side,
I love that.
we always had like as the quarter was coming to an end, like we would get like a list from the administration of like, you need to call these kids down, they're failing. And lo and behold, it was always the same kids, and I would look at it and I would say to myself, like, A, they're not gonna fail. They know the game, right? They're gonna pull it around at the last minute. And two, they are gonna be fine in life. I knew their personalities and I knew
Love.
this kid is gonna be able to sell like ice to Eskimos. Like he has got the
Mm-hmm.
personality that is gonna take him so far in life. School's not his jam. He doesn't work well confined to four walls. When he leaves this very
Yes, ma'am.
structured world that he's had to live for 18 years, he's gonna thrive in the real world.
Thrive.
And so, like, as much as I love my college consulting business, because obviously that's where my expertise lie, I look at people that say, and I'm so glad like trades are finally getting more the attention that they deserve. You can make such a good living doing
Oh my
other
gosh.
things without taking on the debt. I mean, I look at people that are, 22, 23 years old that didn't, maybe they got a trade, they're electrician, plumber, they're making six figures. I say to people all
Yes.
the time, have you had to have somebody come in your house and do something recently? Or have you gone to like a nice hairstylist? Like, what kind of money are you chucking out? Like, they get paid very well. They don't have these debts that some of these kids are taking on for 4-year degrees, and they get to
Yes.
start life and they have something meaningful. And I always say, if like COVID taught us anything, there are certain jobs that will never go away. I don't care what you do with AI. I don't care what
100%.
you do with recession. So I'm a firm believer, like listen to your kids, look at their interests and support them. And you know what? Maybe down the line, maybe they will want to go to college. Maybe they never will. And you know what? I say you have like these windows of times. If they're doing something really good, like sometimes I'll see kids that have like started their own businesses in high school and they're flourishing. Why are we forcing college right away? They could go like, like I don't know.
I love you. I mean, I love you so much, but I love you so much more for saying that, Jenna, because there's such freedom like in our days. And I think a lot of people are still looked down like if you don't go to
Yeah,
college. In our
yeah,
days was like a no, there's no chance in hell that you're not.
yeah,
Nowadays, and I think about my daughter, I'm like she
yeah,
may go, she may not.
yeah.
Right. And I love that you said you're like, I love what I do and it's my expertise and I've made a career out of it and I'm really good at it. And I also believe that if you don't want to go to college or if you listen to your kid, like
Right.
ultimately, what are they telling you? What is best for them? They're going to be fine. College is not the end all be all.
No. And like you said, there's only but so many careers where you have to go to college, right? Like you have to if you're going to be an accountant, you have to if you're going to be a
A
dentist, a doctor.
doctor, right. Yeah.
Right, like, you have to, but, like, if you don't know, there's, like, nothing wrong with, like, maybe take a gap year, like, figure out what you wanna do, like, grow and mature. Do we need to just go and party away and spend money and be wasteful? Like, I don't know. So that's my unpopular opinion. I'll die on a crossover. Like,
Yes,
you don't have to go to college.
ma'am. This is awesome. I love. And our final wrap up is what is bringing you joy nowadays? Like, what is your little joy, your sparkle of joy in your life?
I think it's just like like my home life, my family, my time. Because I think for so many years I didn't have the time and was sacrificing. Um, I mean, look, I think you go through seasons in life. I think when I look back at my 20s, like, yes, I should have been hustling. I should have had those long days. I should have been building my career. It's what's allowed me to have the freedom that I have now. But I think now that I'm in this season of life, like, I'm very appreciative of it and I like the flexibility of it. Like every night I feel like we take our dogs to different parks and just like enjoy the night. And like, so it's just I don't know, I think I like the slower
Mm,
pace right now, and I appreciate, like, the opportunities that I have being able to work for myself, and I'm very thankful. I don't ever take a day for granted that I've been able to create something that's allowed me to have this freedom. Um, so, yeah,
that's
I think
beautiful.
yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that for you. I love that for you. And you're such a story of trial and error, if you will, and
Yeah,
success. I think you always brought your own Jenna like spice to everything that you were doing. And now that you're in this season of life where it's like, I'm still doing what I'm good at, what I love, but I also get to enjoy life,
yeah,
and be a source of knowledge and wisdom and calmness to people
yeah.
that could be going through things that feel really stressful. I'm rooting for you every step of the way. I love it so much. Tell our incredible community, where can they find you? And if they want to hire you or work with you, how does that work?
Yeah, sure. So I would say it's the College Navigators for anything. So whether it's .com or you're going on Instagram or um, Facebook, so the College Navigators. And then yeah, if they want to work, they can just reach out to me. I offer everything, like I said, from one-on-one to I do run a community that people can join just month to month, get in and get out whenever you want. I always say it's like the most affordable way to get help, and you could just stay for a month if you want. So it's very reasonable. Or I also do lots of application reviews. So if you just want to get my feedback, you can send me your application. I'll review it and tell you what, a director level would be thinking. Yeah, so I would say, and if nothing else,
Perfect.
just follow along because lots of good tips, lots of good stuff I share. And I do put out a weekly newsletter too. So if you don't do social media, you can just sign up for that and at least get all the things that are going on in the world to stay updated.
Love, 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 love. I am not near the process of calling college application with my daughter, and I still love what you post. I'm like, oh wait, what's happening?
I know
And
so
I'm like,
many people
so
are like, I'm done, but I'm still following. I'm like,
yeah, yeah. Like it's fun, and you also like it's not like super academia serious. Like there's
right,
fun like graphic and music and the way you talk about it. Like again, there's nothing that I need from your account right now. Of course, I'm there because I want to support you as a friend, but I don't need any of it, and I'm still like watching the stories. So
yeah.
I will link everything in the show notes so you all can check it out. But thank you, Jenna. You are a gem, a friend. You're an inspiration as a business owner, and thank you for being so generous with your time today and everything you shared.
Oh, of course. It was so good to be here.